Chosen one, there comes a moment when heaven interrupts the rhythm of ordinary life and whispers something that changes everything. This is not a call based on perfection, popularity, or human achievement. It is a divine invitation that reaches those God has set apart for a purpose greater than themselves. If you have been carrying questions, enduring delays, and wondering whether your prayers have been heard, this message is for you. Today, we are stepping into a revelation that exposes what God is doing behind the scenes. Chosen ones, no more waiting from God, because the season of divine movement has already begun. Chosen one, you have spent enough nights asking God when your breakthrough would finally arrive. You have watched doors remain closed, opportunities disappear, and people walk away without explanation. More than once, you questioned whether heaven had forgotten your name, but what you called silence was never abandonment. What you called delay was never denial. Every season that appeared motionless was actually filled with invisible preparation. God was shaping your character while protecting your destiny. He was removing what could not go where He is taking you. The waiting was not punishment. It was positioning. You have often measured God's activity by what you could see with your natural eyes. When nothing changed around you, you assumed nothing was changing at all. But God's greatest works rarely begin where human eyes can observe them. They begin in the unseen. Long before a tree breaks through the surface, its roots are spreading deep beneath the ground. In the same way, your spiritual foundation has been growing while the world believed nothing was happening. The hidden work has always been more important than the visible reward. There were moments when you wanted to quit because every promise seemed further away than ever before. You looked at others advancing while your own journey felt frozen. Comparison became a temptation because it appeared as though everyone else was moving except you. Yet God never called you to follow another person's timetable. Chosen ones do not walk according to human calendars. They move according to divine appointments. What seems late to people is perfectly timed in heaven. Now hear this carefully. The title of this message is not simply encouraging you to stop waiting. It is revealing a spiritual reality. Chosen ones, no more waiting from God. Why? Because God is no longer waiting to decide whether He will bless you. His decision was made before you were born. The promise was established before your first breath. Heaven has already spoken. The question is no longer whether God will move. The question is whether you will recognize His movement. When it unfolds, many believers spend years asking God to release something He has already released in the Spirit. They continue praying for permission when heaven has already given instruction. Sometimes we remain in a place of waiting because we expect God to repeat what He has already said. But faith grows when we trust the last word God gave us even when circumstances refuse to cooperate. Every promise has its process, but every process also has its appointed completion. Think about the seasons you survived that should have destroyed you. There were attacks that came without warning. There were betrayals that broke your heart. There were disappointments that left you questioning your own value. Yet somehow you remained standing. That was not luck. That was not coincidence. That was the hand of God preserving someone He had already chosen. The enemy invested so much energy trying to stop you because he recognized something you had not fully understood about yourself. He saw the calling before you embraced it. Chosen one, you have underestimated the significance of your endurance. Every battle you survived became another testimony that your assignment could not be canceled. Every tear you cried became another seed planted in God's timing. Every lonely season strengthened muscles that comfort never could. While others were searching for shortcuts, God was building substance within you, and substance always outlasts applause. There is a dangerous misconception that chosen people live easy lives. The opposite is often true. Chosen people carry unusual resistance because they carry unusual purpose. The greater the assignment, the greater the preparation. Gold is refined by fire because its value demands purification. Diamonds are formed under pressure because greatness cannot emerge without endurance. You have mistaken the intensity of your trials as evidence that God was absent, when in reality, they proved how deeply invested He was in your future. No more waiting from God also means no more living beneath the level of authority He has already placed within you. Too many chosen ones are asking heaven to do what heaven has empowered them to accomplish. God has given wisdom, discernment, courage, and spiritual authority. Yet fear keeps many from walking forward. You keep asking for another sign while God is asking for another step. Every act of obedience unlocks another dimension of revelation. The reason fear has been attacking your mind is because fear understands momentum. Once you realize that God has already prepared the way before you, hesitation begins to lose its power. The enemy wants you frozen in uncertainty because uncertainty delays obedience. But the moment you move in faith, chains begin to break that have held you back for years. Do not confuse waiting on God's timing with refusing to act when His timing has arrived. There is a difference between patience and paralysis. Patience trusts God's process. Paralysis refuses to move even after God has opened the door. Some of you have been standing before open doors while praying for God to unlock them. Heaven is saying the door is already open. Walk through it. Remember every closed door that frustrated you. At the time, it felt unfair. You thought valuable opportunities had slipped away forever. Looking back now, you can already see that many of those closed doors were actually divine protection. Had God allowed you to enter those places, you would have been distracted from your true assignment. Sometimes rejection is simply God's redirection wearing an unfamiliar face. Chosen one, there are relationships that ended because they were connected only to your previous season. There are environments you outgrew, even though leaving them caused pain. Growth always requires separation. A seed cannot remain inside its shell forever if it is going to become what God intended. Breaking is often the beginning of becoming. God has not been delaying your future. He has been aligning every piece that your purpose requires. There were conversations happening that you never heard. There were people being positioned whom you have not yet met. There were opportunities developing while you assumed nothing was changing. Heaven works with precision that human understanding cannot fully grasp. Every detail matters. Every delay has carried hidden meaning. Every unexpected turn has served a greater design. Some of you have asked God why the path has been so lonely. The answer is because certain lessons can only be learned in solitude. Crowds often celebrate results while private seasons produce them. God sometimes removes every distraction so that His voice becomes unmistakable. The isolation was never meant to destroy your confidence. It was meant to strengthen your dependence on Him rather than on human approval. You no longer need to beg God to remember you because He never forgot you. You no longer need to convince Him that you are worthy because His choice was based on His grace rather than your perfection. You no longer need to fear that someone else has taken your place because what God has assigned to you cannot be permanently transferred through someone else's ambition. Your calling carries your name. Your purpose carries your identity. Your season carries your appointed time. The greatest shift begins when you stop seeing yourself as someone abandoned in the waiting room and start seeing yourself as someone standing at the threshold of fulfillment. Your language changes, your expectations change, your decisions change. Instead of asking whether God is going to act, you begin asking whether you are ready to receive what He has already prepared. That single change in perspective transforms everything because expectation becomes the atmosphere where faith grows stronger than fear. Chosen one, heaven is inviting you into a completely different mindset. Stop rehearsing yesterday's disappointments as though they have authority over tomorrow's possibilities. The God who preserved you through every impossible season has not brought you this far to leave your destiny unfinished. The same hand that protected you in hidden places is now preparing to reveal what has been developing all along. Even now, pieces are moving into place that you cannot yet recognize, and what once appeared impossible is beginning to respond to the command God released over your life long before you understood the weight of your calling. Chosen one, do not allow yesterday's disappointments to define tomorrow's expectations. The enemy wants you to keep looking backward because he knows that people who are constantly staring at the past struggle to to recognize the opportunities standing in front of them. God is not calling you to relive every painful chapter. He is calling you to remember His faithfulness through every chapter. There is a difference. One keeps you imprisoned by what happened. The other fills you with confidence for what is about to happen. Every prayer you whispered in secret has been heard. Every act of obedience that no one applauded has been recorded in heaven. Every sacrifice you made when no one understood has not been forgotten. God is not unjust. He does not overlook faithfulness. Even when the results seemed delayed, heaven was keeping perfect account of every moment you trusted Him instead of giving up. What looked like empty seasons were actually seasons where eternal rewards were being prepared. This is why your spirit has been sensing that something is changing. It is not your imagination. It is not wishful thinking. There is a divine stirring taking place because the season of hesitation is coming to an end. The same God who taught you to wait is now teaching you to walk. The same God who strengthened you in hidden places is now preparing to display His faithfulness in ways that will leave no doubt that His hand has been upon your life from the very beginning. Walk with confidence, not because you know every detail of the journey, but because you know the one who ordered your steps. Stand with courage, not because the road will always be easy, but because God's presence will always be greater than every obstacle. Speak with faith, not because circumstances already agree with the promise, but because the promise carries more authority than the circumstances. Chosen one, this is your reminder that your identity has never been determined by rejection, delay, or hardship. Your identity has always been rooted in the God who called you before the foundations of the world. Nothing that happened to you has the power to erase what God has spoken over you. No failure is greater than His mercy. No setback is stronger than His purpose. No opposition is powerful enough to cancel what heaven has already established. So lift your eyes, strengthen your heart, refuse to let fear make decisions that faith was meant to make. Step into each new day believing that God is already ahead of you, preparing the way, opening the right doors, connecting you with the right people, and accomplishing what only He can accomplish. The waiting season has served its purpose. The preparation has produced its fruit. The lessons have been learned. Now move forward with the confidence of someone who knows they are called, chosen, and carried by the hand of God. Chosen one, no more waiting from God. The time has come to believe what He has already spoken, to walk in the authority He has already given, and to embrace the future He has already prepared. Your story has never been controlled by delays, but by divine timing. Your life has never been defined by what tried to stop you, but by the God who never stopped working on your behalf. And as you continue to trust Him with every step, you will discover that the greatest miracles were not simply the blessings you received, but the person you became while God was preparing you to receive them. Chosen one, there is another truth that God wants you to understand before you step fully into this new season. The blessings that are coming into your life are not arriving to satisfy your pride. They are arriving to fulfill your purpose. God never pours into a vessel so that it can keep everything for itself. He pours so that it can overflow. The favor that rests upon your life will become an answer to someone else's prayer. The wisdom you gained through suffering will become the guidance another person desperately needs. The comfort you received in your darkest moments will become the strength you offer to those who believe they cannot make it another day. Never underestimate the influence of a life surrendered to God. You may think your daily obedience goes unnoticed, but heaven sees every decision to remain faithful when compromise would have been easier. There are people watching your life who may never tell you that your perseverance gave them the courage to keep believing. There are family members, friends, coworkers, and even strangers who are being impacted by your example without your knowledge. That is how God's kingdom often works. The greatest influence is not always loud. Sometimes it is found in the quiet consistency of a person who refuses to let go of God's promises. Chosen one, there will always be voices attempting to define your future according to your past. Some will remember who you used to be while completely ignoring who God is transforming you into. Do not become discouraged by people who cannot see beyond your history. God has never been limited by human opinions. Throughout Scripture, He continually chose people others overlooked. He called shepherds to become kings. He called fishermen to become world changers. He called ordinary men and women to accomplish extraordinary purposes because His power is revealed most clearly through those who depend on Him. There may still be moments when uncertainty tries to return. That does not mean your faith has failed. Faith is not the absence of questions. Faith is choosing to trust God even while some answers remain hidden. Every step forward may not reveal the entire path, but each obedient step brings greater clarity than standing still ever could. You do not need to know every detail before you move. You only need enough light for the next step, trusting that God will continue revealing His direction as you faithfully follow Him. Remember how many times you thought the story was over. You believed there was no way forward. Yet somehow another opportunity appeared. Another door opened. Another unexpected blessing arrived. Looking back, you can now recognize that God was writing chapters you could never have imagined while you were focused on the page directly in front of you. The author of your life has never lost control of the story. Every unexpected twist has served His greater purpose. Chosen one, guard your heart against bitterness. Pain that is surrendered to God becomes wisdom. Pain that is held onto becomes a prison. Forgiveness does not declare that what happened was acceptable. It declares that your future is too valuable to remain chained to yesterday's wounds. Refusing bitterness is not weakness. It is strength rooted in the confidence that God is the perfect judge who never overlooks injustice and never fails to redeem what has been surrendered into His hands. The next season of your life will require greater faith because it will also carry greater responsibility. Blessing and responsibility always travel together. As God increases your influence, He will also deepen your dependence on Him. Success without humility becomes dangerous, but success grounded in gratitude becomes a testimony that points others toward God instead of yourself. Never forget the wilderness after you enter the promised place. The lessons learned during difficult seasons will keep your heart steady during seasons of abundance. Do not become distracted by the need to prove yourself. Your value was settled the moment God chose you. You do not need constant approval from people whose opinions change with every circumstance. Your assignment is not to impress the crowd. Your assignment is to remain faithful to the one who called you. There will always be critics. There will always be doubters. But there will also always be a God whose voice is greater than every accusation spoken against you. Chosen one, the peace God offers is not dependent upon perfect circumstances. It is the confidence that He remains in control even when life appears uncertain. Storms may still come, but they no longer determine your identity. Delays may still happen, but they no longer define your hope. Opposition may still arise, but it no longer has the authority to convince you that God has abandoned His promises. This is why gratitude must become part of your daily walk. Thank God not only for the blessings you can already see, but also for the ones still making their way toward you. Gratitude keeps your heart focused on God's faithfulness rather than life's frustrations. It reminds you that the same God who carried you through every previous battle remains with you today. As you continue forward, remain teachable. Never allow yesterday's victories to make you believe there is nothing left to learn. God continually shapes those who remain humble enough to receive correction and wise enough to seek His direction. Growth never truly ends while purpose remains alive. Every season introduces lessons that prepare you for the next assignment. Chosen one, if you have been wondering whether your prayers mattered, let this settle deep within your spirit. Not one sincere prayer has been wasted. Some were answered immediately. Others were answered through protection you did not recognize. Still others are unfolding in ways you have not yet seen. Heaven wastes nothing that is surrendered in faith. The journey ahead will include moments of celebration and moments of challenge, but you no longer need to face either one with fear. Celebrate without pride. Endure without despair. Trust without hesitation. The God who began a good work in you is faithful to complete it. He has carried you through valleys, strengthened you on mountains, comforted you in lonely places, and guided you when every direction seemed uncertain. So continue walking with confidence. Continue believing when others doubt. Continue praying when answers seem delayed. Continue loving even after disappointment. Continue serving even when recognition does not come. Continue standing firm because your labor in the Lord is never in vain. Every faithful step matters. Every obedient choice carries eternal significance. Every moment surrendered to God becomes part of a testimony that will outlive your lifetime. Chosen one, your future is not waiting for permission from the world. It is unfolding according to the purpose of God. Walk into it with courage. Embrace it with humility. Protect it with wisdom. And above all, trust the God who has never failed and never will. His promises remain true. His timing remains perfect. His presence remains constant. The same God who called you will sustain you, strengthen you, and lead you exactly where you are meant to be, one faithful step at a time.